Tonight, an out-of-control driver and a deadly crash in Happy Valley.
A driver on a collision course near an elementary school, what finally brought him to a screeching halt before anyone else could get hurt.
And it was a wake-up call for security teams. But attacks like the one in Manchester are very hard to stop. What the public can do to make the experts' jobs much easier and make all of our lives more safe.
From 10 down to 7. Why this year's Bridge Pedal route is featuring fewer bridges than usual, plus which bridges are left.
This is KGW News at 6.
First, we're following breaking news tonight in Newport. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office is telling people to stay inside because of a major gas leak. This is happening near Southeast John Moore and Bay Boulevard. The Sheriff's Office says anyone who lives east of that area should stay inside and do not light any appliances or matches. We're working to get more information about this. We'll have an update as soon as we get it.
We're also following breaking news from Happy Valley tonight.
An out-of-control driver plows through a construction zone today, hitting 3 construction workers near a school.
Take a look at Sky 8 video of a scene from earlier today. One of the workers was killed, the other 2 taken to the hospital.
KGW's Chris Willis joins us live now from the scene near Southeast 122nd. Chris, do we have any more information on what caused this driver to lose control?
Well, from the sky down to the ground, investigators say they're looking at all possibilities. This spray paint from the crime scene investigators here on 122nd tells an interesting story, shows how this out-of-control driver went off the road and rolled down that ravine. They're now looking at excessive speed, drugs, alcohol, or even a possible medical condition as reasons to why this happened. Little consolation to the family of the worker who was killed today. Happened at 12:30 this afternoon. Police say the driver, clearly out of control, rammed into the flagger who was trying to stop him. He kept going and then plowed into 2 other construction workers who were subcontracted by the city of Happy Valley, repairing and installing water lines here on 122nd. One worker was injured, the other killed, and then the driver kept going, ending up down that ravine and rolling his car onto its side. He had to be cut out of the vehicle by emergency crews, who are now calling this one of the worst scenarios possible in a busy construction season.
He approached the construction scene. There was a flagger there attempting to stop the vehicle. He then struck the flagger, continued through the scene, struck 2 workers, and continued northbound on 122nd.
122nd was closed for several hours. Spring Mountain Elementary just a block away, so parents had to scramble to get their kids. We can tell you 122nd is now back open. Identities of the victims not being released. Obviously, families have to be notified. As for the driver, he was taken to the hospital to get checked out, but he was also escorted by a police officer after getting cut out of his vehicle. We're told charges are pending. Now back to you.
Chris, thank you. In England, there is mourning and vigilance after the Manchester bombing. Earlier today, the terror threat level in the UK raised to critical as the Prime Minister warned another attack could be coming. A lot of people are wondering about big public gatherings here. Is there any way to protect ourselves? KGW's Pat Dora set out to find some answers. Pat?
Well, Joe, the unfortunate truth is no, we cannot protect ourselves completely, especially outside in public areas, but we can make it harder for the bad guys.
Go, go!
When thousands gather in the Portland area, like these folks did for the Garth Brooks concert, there is always a risk that something might happen. It's less pronounced inside places like the Moda Center because people are screened on the way in. It's outside that poses the biggest risk. Most of the time, we're safe, and we've never had a mass casualty terror attack here. But that doesn't mean we won't.
There's really no way to keep that amount of people safe.
Scott Castleman owns a security company that helped when President Bush visited. They specialize in big crowds and VIP protection. He said the end of an event, like the concert in England, is an inviting target for terrorists.
The target is still large, which is what they're looking for, but the security is probably a lot less because it's at the end of the night and they figured the event went off without a hitch. And we're good.
So how can we make ourselves safer, especially outside in crowded public places?
People seeing things and saying something is probably the best preventative measure people can do when they go to an event.
Portland Police spokesman Pete Simpson said we should also think about escape routes.
Anytime you go to an event, we encourage folks to be aware of their surroundings and pay attention to, where can I leave if something happens? What am I going to do if something like this were to happen. Which way am I running, or am I grabbing my kids?
For this story, we contacted several big venues, including the Crystal Ballroom, the Moda Center, Portland Center for the Performing Arts, and the Timbers and others. Some would not say anything. Others simply said safety of their guests and employees is a top priority, and then they wouldn't talk about security. Friday, there's a big concert at the Moda Center. Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. Police say you should go if you want to. There will be normal levels of security. Back to you.
Thanks, Pat. This attack was a sobering one for security companies worried about so-called soft targets. Coming up at 6:30, we'll explain what a soft target is, why they're so vulnerable to attacks like the one in Manchester, and how the public can be the best resource in stopping threats before it's too late.
Power to some businesses and streetlights is starting to come back on tonight after a huge section of downtown Portland had an outage.
It all started at 8 o'clock last night when an electrical fire happened under the street in Old Town.
KGW's Nina Melhoff has been talking to some of the 2,000 places affected by all of this. She joins us live from downtown to show us the work. Nina?
Well, Tracy and Laurel, streetlights still out here in Old Town, but down the street we have been watching Pacific Power crews go down into those manholes all day at Northwest 8th and Cooch to fix this. Those circuits got overloaded last night and it sparked a fire that's cost downtown a lot of money.
I wasn't ready for all this.
Tina Hopper is getting some air outside her low-income apartment building, hoping her insulin keeps cool enough in the refrigerator.
It has to stay cold. But if it's warm, hopefully it doesn't go bad on me, because I really can't afford to. I don't know if the insurance is going to cover more or not.
The one elevator at the Alder house is out of power. Lydia lives on the 6th floor. Like other medically fragile residents, she lugged groceries up the stairs only to have them spoil.
Well, we had groceries and we had to bring it up, and it hurt my back real bad. Go in the ambulance, go in the hospital right now.
It's a different pain for restaurants. Closed signs are all over front doors explaining.
It's hard. Whenever you have to close down the restaurant, it's hard.
Cheryl's on 12th is closed. Milk and eggs thrown out. Emergency dry ice is helping.
The restaurant's closed today, but we have our catering department. We're still getting out kind of cold sandwiches and salads and stuff.
At Bamboo Sushi, same thing. It's costing them in raw fish gone bad and a closure.
But there's salaried staff and thousands of dollars in sales that are can't make up.
This is a look at where it all started, underground at Cooch and 8th, a fire in an electrical vault from an overloaded circuit. Look at how big of an area it put in the dark. It made for a memorable night for some visitors to Portland hotels.
What are the chances you visit Portland? It's 90 degrees and there's no air conditioning.
Yeah, what are the chances of even having sunshine, right?
We are lucky about that. Traffic signals, though, expected to start coming back online right now. Pacific Power hopes to have everyone back on the grid by 9 o'clock tonight. Back to you.
Thank you, Nina. Let's hope it works out.
Today, the suspect at the center of one of the most gruesome crime stories in recent history in Oregon appeared in court.
Joshua Webb had his head down for most of his appearance, which happened through a TV screen. Webb is accused of beheading his mother on Mother's Day and then stabbing a grocery store employee in Estacada. He faces numerous charges, including murder.
Also today, the man accused of attacking a group of housemates in Corvallis appeared in court in Benton County, also via television feed. A judge set 22-year-old Benjamin Bucknell's bail at more than $500,000. He faces numerous charges, including 3 counts of attempted murder from yesterday's knife attack. One of the housemates says Bucknell also tried to burn their house down.
Turning now to the weather, did you find yourself squinting today? It was another bright, sunny day in Portland. Let's take a look from our Rose City Sky Cam. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't that? Very similar to yesterday. We love it. Not quite as hot, though. We have team coverage of these warm conditions. KGW's Keely Chalmers is talking about some safety warnings if you're looking to cool off on the water. But we'll start with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino, and that tomorrow starts to look a little bit different.
It's looking a little bit different right now. Take a look out from our Wells Fargo Sky Cam and see this cloud right here? That's the beginning of a change to cloudier weather. The cooler conditions already kicking in. Look at this. We're down to 75 right now. Parts of the metro area hit 87 today. We're down to 75, and this is normally still about our warmest time of the day normally, but we have a push of cooler coastal air surging into the valleys right now. Northwest winds at 12, but they've been gusting much higher than that. So I want to show you what's been happening over the last couple of days because we're riding the weather roller coaster once again. 90s yesterday. We topped out most places in the mid 80s today. Tomorrow we top out in the 60s. And again, the clouds are on the way. I've got a couple of great animations to share with you. And of course, we'll take a look ahead towards the Memorial Day weekend forecast. Don't get concerned about that. It's still looking pretty great. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Well, as the weather warms up, sadly, we often begin to see accidents on the water. And this afternoon, we now know the name of the woman who died when the boat she was on crashed into the Glen Jackson Bridge last night. Her name was Heidi Knight from Wilsonville. She was 46 years old. The man driving the boat was injured, but will be okay. These are new pictures from the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. In one of them, you can clearly see where the boat collided with the pylon of the bridge. Members of the East County Vehicular Crash Team are working to figure out what caused that crash, though they say speed and water conditions likely factored in.
Between the issues we've already seen and with Memorial Day coming up, river patrols are warning river goers to be extra careful. KGW's Keely Chalmers is live along the Willamette tonight, and one expert you talked with, Keely, said that the conditions were treacherous.
That's right, John. It really comes down to one thing. The rivers right now are not like they normally would be this time of the year. The weather, however, finally is. So a lot of people, as you can imagine, are going to be heading out onto this water into conditions they're not used to.
All right, Tyson, you're good.
Boaters along the Willamette River are noticing a big difference this year.
With the river being so high, a lot of the rocks are hidden, so you got to know the river pretty well if you want to navigate it.
And rocks are just one of the many dangers now hiding just below the surface of this water. Sergeant Nate Thompson with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Marine Unit took us out onto the water to show us another.
Somebody's hit it. There's a little fresh chunk out of the top.
Large logs like this one barely sticking out of the river, some stuck, all dangerous to boaters.
You know, with a fixed object like that, if it's solid into the ground, a lot of times people do get ejected from the boat.
But Thompson has a warning for swimmers as well. He took us to the popular swimming spot High Rocks to show us the dangers there.
Yeah, I would say we have at least one fatality out here a year. Sometimes we've had as many as 2 or 3.
Not only is the water here shockingly cold right now, it is extremely high and moving unusually fast, about 4 times faster than it normally would this time of year.
I mean, this current, when you jump in, is going to take you downstream, maybe even 100 yards before you can swim to shore safely.
Yesterday on the North Fork of the Santiam River, a 25-year-old man went underwater and never resurfaced. He was swimming at 3 pools, another popular swimming spot.
So it's important to think before you jump in.
Which is why Thompson says it's important that anyone recreating in or on our rivers not only have their life vests, but have them securely on. Something this boater says isn't even a question.
Yeah, we always have a vest on, always. So at least some.
Now, Thompson says if you do go out boating, make sure you stick to the main channels and still always have a lookout. He says river deputies do try and remove all the hazards that they see out in the rivers, but he admits there's just a lot of hazards out there right now. Back to you.
Thank you, Keely. And up next, from 10 down to 7. The reason this year's bridge pedal route is crossing considerably fewer bridges.
And later on in our 6:30 half hour, a dilemma with no way out is known as a catch-22. And that's the situation Maddie Runkles found herself in after making the decision to carry her child to term. Why she says her Christian high school is punishing her for that, even though she feels she did the right thing. And everyone wants a good deal, but not everyone wants to haggle. But what if saving money was as easy as asking one simple question? Later, a financial advisor shares the one thing you should say to your cable company to bring down your bill, and lots of other tips to save big time. We'll be right back.